So for our first lesson today, it's a fairly short lesson on solving equations containing rational expressions. So we have 3 steps. First thing we need to do is find the least common denominator, which is what we were doing yesterday. But this time we're going to multiply every term on both sides of your equation by the least common denominator over 1. So whatever our least common denominator is, we're going to multiply every single term by that, but we're just multiplying the tops. So the objective here today is to cancel out all the denominators. We're essentially eliminating all the fractions. Once we eliminate all the fractions, we're going to solve for the variable. If it's linear, you're getting your variables on one side, your constants to the other to solve for x. If you happen to have something that's quadratic, so say you have an x squared, you've got to get 0 on one side and then factor. So let's look at our first example. The easiest method here to solve rational equations is cross multiplication. So remember, when you cross multiply, kind of makes a butterfly. So when I cross multiply, I would multiply these terms together. Oh, except my thing's froze. And then I would multiply these terms together. So I would take the 6 and I would multiply it by the x, I would multiply it by the 2. I would take the 7, I would multiply it by the x and multiply it by the minus 5. Oh. So when I do that, 7 times x is 7x. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. Then there's my equal sign, and I'm going to multiply my other diagonal. In this case, it's 6 times x, which is 6x, and 6 times 2, which is positive 12. Now I need to ask myself if I have a linear problem or a quadratic. So I know this is linear because I don't have any x squareds. So here my objective is just get x on one side, all the constants on the other. So I would subtract 6x. So x minus 35 equals 12. Add 35 to both sides. So x equals 47. If you wanted to check your answer, you could plug 47 back into the original, and the left side, when you simplify it, should equal the right side when you simplify it. For the next example, we've got 2 fractions on the left side and 1 fraction on the right side. So what if there's more than one expression on one side of the equation? We cannot cross multiply this. So we've got to figure out what's the common denominator, the least common denominator. When I look at the denominators, I see k and I see 2. So your least common denominator is going to equal 2k, because every denominator in this problem has a 2 in it or has a k in it. And then I'm going to multiply every single term by the common denominator. I'm just multiplying the tops. So we're not multiplying the bottoms, just the top. So we're going to multiply this by 2k, this by 2k, and this by 2k. When we do that, something should cancel on every single term. So when I look at the first term, I have 3 times 2k divided by k. Well, when I multiply the top by k and the bottom by k, the k's cancel, and that leaves me with 3 times 2, which is just 6. Then my minus sign, so make sure you bring that minus sign down. Now I have 1 times 2k divided by 2. What's going to cancel? So the 2's cancel, leaving me with 1 times k, which is just 1k or k. And then your equal sign comes down. For the right side, you have 12 times 2k divided by k. Well, when I multiply the top by k and divide the bottom by k, the k's cancel, leaving me with 2 times 12, which is 24. Now I just have a linear equation I need to solve. I would subtract 6 from both sides. So negative k equals 18. Make sure you bring that negative down with your k, or the minus sign. And then you have 2 options to get rid of that negative sign. You can divide by -1, or you can multiply by -1 to get k equals -18. Final answer. Questions on this one?
-3.
Oh, you can do that. I know exactly what you did. Yep, you can do that. Yep. So getting more complicated, now we have, again, 2 terms on the left side, 1 term on the right, but I noticed that the denominator over here on the right, oops, over there, is a quadratic. It's got x squared in it. When I see that, I want to factor it, because I hope that one of those factors or both of them match one or both of these, so I have a smaller denominator to deal with. So I'm going to use x squared minus 6x plus 8 into my asterisk. So I have 1 in the top left and 1 in the top right, -6 in the bottom middle, and 1 times 8, which is 8 in the top. So 2 numbers that multiply to give me 8 and add to give me -6. Yep, -4 and -2. Which means, since I have 1s at the top, I can't reduce these. I now have 1x minus 4, or just x minus 4, and x minus 2. So we're no longer worried about this quadratic because we just factored it into x minus 4 times x minus 2. So now when I think about my least common denominator, if I look at these denominators, the first denominator I see is x minus 4. So that's got to go in my least common denominator. The next denominator I see is x minus 2. It doesn't match the one I already wrote down, so it's got to come down here, or up here, to my least common denominator. But then when I get to the third fraction, x minus 4 is already on my list. X minus 2 is already on my list. So actually, x minus 4 times x minus 2 is my common denominator. What that means, I'm going to take the tops of all these fractions and I'm going to multiply them by x minus 4 and x minus 2. I'm going to rewrite them because I don't have enough room up there. So the original first fraction looked like this. I'm multiplying it by x minus 4 and x minus 2. Plus the second fraction looked like this, and I'm multiplying it by x minus 4, x minus 2. Then my equal sign. Originally it was 2 divided by x minus 4 times x minus 2. Excuse me. And I'm multiplying it by x minus 4 times x minus 2. So now when you go through to cancel, what cancels on the first fraction? Well, what's the same on the first fraction in the numerator and the denominator? So the x minus 4s are the same, which leaves you with 1 times x, which is x, and 1 times negative 2, which is negative 2. So now we have x minus 2 for that first fraction. We've simplified it down to just x minus 2. For the second fraction, I can cancel the x minus 2 on the top with the x minus 2 on the bottom, which leaves me with x times x minus 4. Again, we're going to distribute x times x is x squared, x times negative 4x. Bring your equal sign down. For the fraction on the right, I can cancel the x minus 4 on the top with the x minus 4 on the bottom. And I can cancel the x minus 2 on the top with the x minus 2 on the bottom, which just leaves me with the number 2. So now when I look at this, the first thing I notice is I have this x squared right here, which means I have a quadratic. Anytime you end up with a quadratic, you want to move everything to one side and factor. So here I want to subtract 2 from both sides. When I rewrite it, I want to write it in standard form. So I want the x squared first. Negative 4x plus x is negative 3x. And then negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. But now it equals 0. So now I want to put this into my asterisks. I have 1 in the top left, 1 in the top right, negative 3 in the bottom middle, and negative 4 times 1, which is negative 4, in the top middle. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 4 and add to give me negative 3, negative 4 and positive 1. My fractions here don't reduce, so I have factors of x minus 4 and x plus 1 still equals 0. To get your answers, you're going to have to set both of these equal to 0. So x minus 4 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, which means x equals 4 and x equals negative 1. Since we got two answers, we've got to check to make sure one of them's not extraneous. Remember, when we talk about fractions, you're never allowed to have 0 in the denominator. It's undefined. So when I check 4, so I got an answer of 4. If I check 4 in the denominator right here, what's 4 minus 4? 0. So this answer of x equals 4, we didn't do anything wrong to get it, but it's extraneous because when we plug it back in right here, it gives us 0 in the denominator. You cannot divide by 0, so it's extraneous. If I check the negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5, that's okay. Negative 1 minus 2, that's okay. And then the other two have the same, or the last one has the same two factors, so you don't have to worry about it. So really, this question only has one answer. It is negative 1. So the 4 got marked out because when we plugged it right in here, it gave us 0 for the denominator, and you are not allowed to divide by 0.